Welcome back, as we continue to explore our practice with the last video in this series. This video will cover a few more sections than normal, as these sections of asanas tend to balance the previous one out, whereas the last few series balance the body out within the set itself. We will be covering Reclining, Cobra, Kneeling, Restorative, and the Savasana series. It sounds like a lot, but don't worry, you've got this. We come into the Reclining series from our balancing postures, which we ended with a water break heading into Savasana, so we will begin in Savasana today. Lay down on the mat, face up, roll the shoulders back, allowing a rotation of the palms to face upward for Savasana. Let the feet lay slightly apart and roll out to the sides. Let the eyes gently close and breathe deep breaths. Rest here for 30 to 60 seconds. Focus on your breathing and let your body relax completely. If you have back issues, you can always place a bolster under the knees. Try to regulate out your breathing here. Feel your stomach rise as you breathe in and sink as you breathe out. Release all tension from the previous postures and get ready to move into the last of the series. Inhale and bend the knees as you bring the feet together, heels toward the glutes on the mat, as far as you comfortably can for Supta Bhadrasana, or reclining gentle. Exhale and allow the knees to fall outward toward the edges of the mat as the soles of the feet come together. The hands can move to the inner thighs or the inside of the knees to add a light weight to increase the opening of the inner hips and groin. Stay here for 30 seconds or so, breathing deeply. Remember not to pull the legs too far, just use the hands as a slight weight to help with the opening. Release the hands. Inhale, bringing the knees back up together. Then exhale the legs out straight in front of you on the mat, lying in a supine position. Inhale, bringing the right knee up toward the chest, interlacing the fingers around the knee to pull the leg in deeply, creating a compression of the abdomen for Pavana Mukhatasana, wind-removing pose. Keep the left leg straight and press the left calf down into the mat. Flex both feet so the toes are reaching to the head. Keep the compression, breathe deep breaths, hold for 30 seconds. Remember to pull in so that there is a tight compression and a good stretch, but not pain. On an exhale, release the hands, straighten the right leg out onto the mat. Inhale, bring the left knee to the chest, interlace the fingers around the knee and pull in deeply. Keep the right leg straight and flat on the mat. Toes flexed, hold for 30 seconds, keeping the compression, feeling the stretch. If the knee needs to move slightly to the outside of the rib cage to get a deeper stretch, that is fine as well. Just remember to keep your breathing deep, relaxing into the stretch. Exhale, release the hands and lay the left leg long. Inhale, bring both knees to the chest and interlace the fingers around the knees, or reach for opposite elbows, aiming to keep the shoulders down. Continue to breathe deeply here and squeeze the legs into the chest. You can always put a slight gap in the legs to open around the rib cage if needed. Continue to squeeze. You can rock side to side here to open up the back if it feels good. Release the hands and take both legs straight up to the sky for waterfall. If needed, you can always use a strap around the balls of the feet here to help get the legs straight while you keep your shoulders down. You can stay here or move into plow or shoulder stand if they are part of your practice. Again, these are another posture we won't be covering in the video, as they should be taught in person to make sure you are safely aligned for these. Keep both legs up, hips and shoulders on the mat. Now slowly lower both legs down, but stop a few inches above the mat and hover here. Keep hovering, keep the hands on the mat. Just a little bit longer. Now lift just a little higher and release. On an inhale, we will bend the right knee, keeping the left leg straight. Bring the heel close to the glutes. On an exhale, let the right leg fold over the left side of the mat, using the left hand to anchor the knee down for Jatara Parivartanasana, reclining twist. Rotate the upper body so the upper back is ideally lying flat on the mat and the right arm is extended at a 90-degree angle from the body. Turn the head to gaze out across the right fingertips. Breathe deep breaths and melt into the twist. Remember, the hand on your knee is only anchoring it, not forcing a stretch. Inhale, unwind back to Savasana. Exhale deeply. Inhale, bend the left knee, keeping the right leg straight. Exhale and fold the left leg over to the right side of the mat, using the right hand to anchor the knee. Rotate the upper body so the back is ideally flat, left arm extended away from the body. Gaze out across the left fingertips. Continue to breathe and melt into the twist, letting your knee drop closer to the mat with every breath. The right hand is an anchor, not forcing a stretch. Inhale, unwind back to Savasana. Exhale deeply. Bend both knees up, bringing the heels toward the glutes. Raise the right leg, putting the right ankle on top of the left thigh or just below the knee, rotating the right knee outward as much as the body allows. Send the right arm through the opening between the two legs. Bring the left arm around the outside of the left leg. Keeping the left knee bent, interlace both hands on the left shin, compressing the calf to the thigh. Pull the left leg toward the chest to begin opening the right hip for Janu Padasana, foot to knee, or also called figure 4 pose. Continue to breathe deeply here for 30 seconds. To deepen this posture, you may also pull the forehead up toward the left knee. To exit, reverse the posture back to supine, keeping the knees bent, feet on the mat. Raise the left leg, put the left ankle on top of the right thigh or just below the knee, keeping the left knee outward. Send the left arm through the opening between the legs, right arm on the outside of the right knee, to interlace both hands on the right shin, pulling the calf to the thigh. Now begin to pull the right leg in toward the chest to open the left hip and stay here for another 30 seconds or so. Again, if you feel the need to deepen the posture, you can always lift your forehead toward the knee. Remember, we want to keep enough pressure that we're feeling a good stretch, but we don't want pain in any of these postures. Unwind out of the posture, back to supine with bent knees. From here, we will be moving into Situ Bandha Sarvangasana, or the bridge pose. If wheel pose is part of your practice, feel free to substitute that here. But again, we will not be covering that in this video as it should be taught in person. For the bridge pose, we will keep the feet flat on the mat, bringing the heels to the glutes as far as possible, keeping the arms beside the body, pressing into the mat, palms down. Inhale, send the hips high, engaging the glutes, keeping the shoulders on the mat, and gluing the chin to the chest. Breathe here and hold for 30 seconds. You may move the hands to support the lower back, or interlace the fingers together under the body and press the arms flat onto the mat. You can also grab the ankles with both hands if you are able to reach. Keep the shoulders rolled back, chest open, shoulders to the mat. Exhale, release the shoulders and head to the mat. Then slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, lower your spine down until you get down to the lower end of the spine and to the hips. Immediately from here, bring the knees into the chest, squeeze in deeply. Again, if you feel the need, you can bring the forehead to the knees and rock back and forth. From here, release the arms, keeping the knees up toward the chest. We are going to sit up into boat position. Use the legs to help bring you forward and the arms to bring you up, moving the body into a V shape. Legs extended out, arms reaching forward, engaging the abdomen for Navasana or boat pose. Make sure here to be leaning far enough forward that you're on the sit bones and not the tailbone. Keep the arms reaching forward towards the feet or up overhead, and try and keep the legs out straight in front of you. Attempt to keep the legs and arms as high as possible. Continue breathing, continue holding, reaching with the arms, reaching with the legs, staying on the sit bones. From here, lower the legs down to the mat and fold forward over the legs, reaching for the toes for Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Engaging your Mula and Uddiyana Bandha as you grab for the toes. Feel free to bend the knees here if needed to reach the toes, or to sit up on a block to keep the back straight. Stay here for 30 seconds, breathing deeply. Continue reaching for the toes, folding the chest towards the thighs. If you have the knees bent, continue to press them to try and straighten the legs. Inhale, sit up straight and release the feet. From here, roll over to lying on the stomach with the head to the front of the mat for Bhujangasana or Cobra pose. Lying prone on the mat, on the stomach, face down, tops of the feet to the mat. Place the hands beneath the shoulders like you were going to do a push-up or a plank, keeping the elbows glued to the rib cage. Legs should stay together in this pose. Tops of the feet stay lightly pressing into the mat. Inhale, lift the chest from the mat, keeping a bend in the elbows and gazing forward. Engage the glutes and breathe deep breaths. Lift the hands here if you can while keeping the chest lifted high, and hold for 30 seconds. The tops of the feet and the thighs are pressing into the mat, but staying on the mat. Aim to lift the chest all the way down to having the belly button still touching the mat. Hold here. Continue your breathing. Gaze should be forward, not craning the neck too far. Release fully back down to the mat. Turn the head to the side and rest for a few seconds here before continuing. Try to resume your natural breathing, inhaling and exhaling fully. We will now bring the arms along the side of the body, palms to the mat, facing to the back of the mat for Purna Salabhasana or locust pose. On an inhale, we will simultaneously lift the chest, the torso, the arms, and the legs. Squeeze the glutes and keep lifting as high as possible, reaching the arms to the back of the mat, feet up and to the back for 30 seconds. Alternatively, if you can't lift both arms and both legs at the same time, lift one arm and the opposite leg and hold for 15, then release and do the other side for 15 seconds. Exhale, release to the mat. Again, turn the head to the side and take a few breaths here. From here, we will bend the knees to bring the heels toward the glutes for Dhanurasana or bow pose. Reach both arms straight back to grab the ankles from the outside. Inhale, lift the chest and the legs, holding for 30 seconds. The arms are pulling on the legs, the feet are pressing back into the hands to create more lift. As you breathe deeply here, continue to create that counter pressure between the hands and the feet to help lift you higher. If this pose is too difficult or painful for you to get into, you can repeat Cobra or Locust or the Locust variation here. Continue breathing deeply. Exhale, release down to the mat. From lying on the stomach, bring the hands up to under the shoulders, push up and back, bringing the glutes to the heels. Knees can be together or slightly apart for Vajrasana, kneeling, commonly also referred to as Sesa. Reach the arms out in front on the mat, forehead down to the mat in front of the knees for Balasana, child's pose. Stay here for a few breaths. The arms can remain reaching out front or can be brought to the sides. Focus on breathing your deep Ujjayi breathing here. Relax and release the spine from all the poses in the Cobra series. From child's pose, inhale up to the hands and knees, hands directly under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Exhale, press into the floor, round the spine up, squeeze the tailbone under, engaging Mula Bandha for Marjariyasana, cat pose. Inhale, lower the spine, arch the back, and open the chest for Bitalasana, cow pose. Exhale, round the spine back to cat pose, tuck the chin to the chest, Uddiyana Bandha, pull the stomach in and up. Inhale the cow, looking up, let the abdomen expand for a full inhale, but don't let the belly sag. Repeating for a few rounds, following your own breath. Staying engaged, working out the spine. Deep breaths, inhale fully, exhale fully. Exhale fully, bringing the knees up toward the hands and sitting back so the glutes are on the heels. Inhale the torso upright, hands to the thighs, shoulders back, chest open. Inhale, come up onto the knees, torso upright, and bring the hands to the low back for Ustrasana, camel pose. Look up and relax the shoulders and the neck back, going into a back bend. Stay here with the hands on the lower back supporting you if needed, or reach back and bring the hands to the heels, or you can place blocks on the outside of the heels and reach for those. Remain here for a few breaths. The chest is open, shoulders are down and back, pelvis is pushing forward, ribs are pulling up and away from the pelvis. Keep bending, looking to the back of the room. On an inhale, come back up, releasing one hand at a time if needed, using your hands on your lower back for support to bring you upright. Sit back on the heels again, tops of the feet to the mat for Sasangasana, rabbit pose. Inhale, tuck the chin to the chest, reach back, grab the heels. Exhale, roll the spine forward until the crown of the head is on the mat with the forehead touching the knees. Continue rounding the spine and pulling on the heels, staying here for a few breaths. If you are able, start to lift the glutes away from the heels up toward the sky to deepen the stretch. Don't put too much weight on your head here. The head should just be touching the mat, not bearing any weight. Continue to keep pressure in the hands, breathing into the stretch. Inhale, release the hands and roll the spine up slowly back to sitting on the heels. Separate the heels out far enough that the glutes can sit on the mat between them. Ideally, the knees are together here, but they can be separated if needed for comfort. Stay upright here if this is as far as you are comfortable, or start to recline back, resting the hands on the mat behind you, coming down to the elbows or all the way down onto the back if you are able, for Supta Virasana, reclining hero. Stay here, relax, continue to breathe deeply. Make sure your shoulders are back and relaxed, chest is open. Inhale. Start to raise yourself back up, coming back to the elbows, then to the hands, bringing yourself back up to sitting on the heels. Bring the hands to the mat in front of you, coming to all fours, and send the hips up high, back to downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here to stretch the back out. We're going to inhale, send the right leg up and back to three-legged dog, toes pointing to the back wall, hips square to the mat. Exhale, bend the right knee, bringing the leg under the body, turning the leg so that the right knee comes to the right wrist and the right foot is as close to the left hand as you are able to, aiming to get the shin parallel to the front of the mat. The left leg goes out long behind us, top of the foot and thigh to the mat. You can stay on the hands here, or lower to the forearms, bringing the forehead to the mat. Stay here for a few breaths, remembering to keep the hips square. If needed, you can place a towel or a block under the hovering hip to help keep them square. Breathe deeply, releasing into the stretch. Remember to keep the legs straight behind you, top of the foot, top of the thigh to the mat. Release into the stretch. On an inhale, come back to the hands. Tuck the left toes. Push down into the toes to bring the left leg off the mat and bring the right leg back out and through to downward dog. Take a few breaths here in downward dog, heels reaching to the mat, pressing through the thumb sides of the hands. Inhale, send the left leg up and back to three-legged dog, toes pointing to the back wall, hips square to the mat. Exhale, bend the left knee and bring the leg under the body, turning the leg so the left knee comes to the left wrist. Left foot is as close to the right hand and as close to parallel to the front of the mat as you are able to do. Right leg reaches out long behind, top of the foot, top of the thigh to the mat. You can always stay on the hands here or begin to lower to the forearms, aiming to bring the forehead to the mat. Stay here and relax into the stretch for a few breaths, keeping the hips square, legs straight behind. Remember, we want to lower as much as we can so we feel a good deep stretch, but not pain. Take a few breaths, let yourself sink into the stretch. On an inhale, come back up to the hands. Tuck the right toes. Push into the toes to lift the right leg off the mat. Bring the left leg back through to downward dog. Take a few breaths here. Exhale, bring the knees to the mat, knees together, feet together, tops of the feet to the mat. Inhale, sitting up tall with the glutes on the heels for Vajrasana, or kneeling pose. From here, come through to seated with your legs out long in front of you. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward, reaching out beyond the feet, bending the knees if needed to get a hold of the feet for Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Grabbing your feet, pull your torso down with your arms while pushing to straighten the knees if you bent them, aiming to get the chest to the thighs. Stay here for a few breaths. Engage your bandhas, fold deeper. Again, you can always sit on a block here to help straighten the legs and keep the back straight. Sink into the fold. Full deep breaths. Inhale back up to seated with our legs out long in front of us. You're going to bend the right leg, bringing the bottom of the foot to the inside of the left thigh. Right knee lowers down toward the mat as far as possible. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward, reaching for the left foot for Janu Shasana, head to knee pose. Again, bend the knee if needed to keep the back straight and get a hold of the foot, bringing the forehead to the left knee. Stay here for a few breaths, folding deeper, straightening the leg. Again, if needed, you could be seated on a block here as well. Inhale, back up to seated. Take the right leg out in front again. Now bring the left leg up so the bottom of the left foot is to the inner right thigh, left knee sinking toward the mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward, reaching for the right foot. Bending the knee if needed to keep the back straight, taking the forehead toward the right knee as close as possible. And stay here for a few breaths. Folding deeper with every breath. Straightening the leg. Keeping pressure with the arms, pulling the chest down toward the thigh, forehead to the knee. On an inhale, come back up to seated, legs long out front. Bring the right foot up again as we did for Janu Shirsasana, but instead of putting the bottom of the foot to the inside of the thigh, lift the left leg and bring the right heel under and to the outside of the left hip. Bend your left knee up and take the leg over the right leg so your left foot goes to the outside of the right knee, foot flat on the mat. Take your right hand up and over the left knee, elbow pressing into the knee. Right hand reaches for the right knee if you are able. The left arm reaches behind the back for the right thigh eventually, or take the palm to the mat behind you for Ardha Matsyendrasana, half kingfish spinal twist. Hold here for a few breaths, pushing into the twist to get a good deep stretch. Head and torso are rotating to the left, keeping both glutes and the right knee to the floor if you are able. Exhale, unwind slowly, reversing out the way you went in, back to seated with legs out long. Now bring the left foot in, put it under the right leg so the left heel is to the right hip. Bend your right knee up, take your right foot up and over the left leg to sit on the mat outside the left knee, foot flat on the mat. Left hand comes up and over the right knee, elbow pressing into the knee. Left hand grasps for the left knee if you are able. Right arm reaches behind the back for the left thigh eventually, or palm comes to the mat behind you. Hold here for a few breaths. Head and torso rotating right, glutes and knee on the floor. Exhale, unwind slowly, reversing out the way you went back in. Come back to seated, legs out long in front of you. Bring yourself into a comfortable seated position now for breath of fire. You can always sit on a block here if needed to make sure that your upper body is straight up and down, legs are in a comfortable position. Before we begin, find your natural breathing, letting the stomach expand on an inhale and coming in on an exhale. For breath of fire, we will be exhaling sharply and repeatedly pulling the belly in on every exhale to force the sharp exhale. And then the natural rebound of the stomach going back out will cause the inhale. We'll be quickly pulling the stomach in and out, so this is best done on an empty stomach. The goal is to be doing 100 of these, but we will start with 2 rounds of 25 and then a round of 50. If at any point you need to take a break and resume your normal breathing, that's perfectly fine. You can jump back in or pause the video and get up to 100 on your own. To begin, inhale, fill the lungs all the way, let the stomach come out. Follow along. Good. Resume your normal breathing now for a few seconds. Let the lungs fill all the way. Expand the stomach. Breathing in, filling the stomach. Breathing out, letting the stomach drop. Alright, get ready for the second round. Big full inhale, letting the stomach expand all the way. And follow along. Good. Relax, catch your breath. Full inhales, full exhale. For the next round of 50, I'm going to let you follow your own pace. Again, pause the video if you need to get the full 50, or do as many as you can and keep following along. Inhale again fully, and begin your exhales. Remember to pull the stomach in sharply as you're exhaling, and let the stomach rebound out again on your inhales. Quick, sharp exhales. Pull those stomach muscles in. Really begin to feel it. Feel the burn. Keep going. Keep pushing. If you're slightly ahead of us, just resume your normal breathing and wait. Continue pushing. Stomach comes in, quick, sharply. All right, good. Relax. Return to your normal Ujjayi breathing. Deep inhales, deep exhales. Work your way up to completing the full 100 in a row. Lay back now for Savasana. Arms out to the side, palms up, feet slightly apart, rolling out to the sides. Follow your normal Ujjayi breathing pattern here. Inhale, let the stomach rise, fill the lungs all the way. Holding for 2 seconds before exhaling fully. Let the stomach drop down. Again, hold at the end of the exhale. Breathe back in. Continue following your breath, inhaling fully, holding the inhale for a second or two before exhaling fully and holding for another few seconds. Start to relax your entire body. Relax your head. Release any tension you're holding in your face. Relax your eyelids. Let your eyes relax back into your skull. Release any tension between your eyebrows. Release your jaw. Let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Release the top of your neck, down through the spine in your neck. Feel your shoulders melting down into the mat. Release any tension you're holding in your arms. Feel the relaxation spreading down your arms to the elbows, to the forearms. Let the wrists relax. The hands are loose. The fingers are heavy. Coming from your shoulders down into the chest. Feel your entire torso releasing. The abdomen releases. Your stomach is heavy. Continuing to breathe, continuing just to melt into the mat. Your hips are relaxed. Thighs are releasing any tension they're holding. Legs are heavy, melting into the mat. Knees are fully relaxed. Shins are relaxed, laying to the sides. The feet are just falling where they will. No tension in the toes. Continue your breathing. Focus on your breathing. Trying to clear the mind here. If any thoughts arise, that's perfectly fine. Try not to dwell on them. Acknowledge the thought. Let it float away, just like it floated in. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Begin to return to your normal breathing. Become aware of your body. Wiggle your fingers. Wiggle your toes. Roll yourself over into the fetal position on either side. The right side for energy, left side for calming. Rest the head on the hands. Stay here for a minute. Breathe. Coming back into your body, back into the room. When you're ready, bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Remember the drishti you set for today's practice. Maybe set another for the rest of the day. Pay attention to how your body feels. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. With this, we conclude the Bare Essentials series. Feel free as you go along to pause the video and linger in poses you feel you could benefit from. Practice sections of it if you need a shorter practice, but be mindful of the sections that balance each other out and try to practice those together. Remember, if we're doing back bends, we always want to come to a forward fold. If we're working the left side, we always want to work the right side. So be mindful of that if you're picking pieces of the practice to focus on. Remember to drink plenty of water and be mindful of how your body feels and what it's telling you, especially if you are just beginning your yoga journey.